Well, what parties to international arbitration are looking for is they're looking for a harmonious process which results in a binding and enforceable decision. And so it's important for that jurisdiction to be a jurisdiction whose legislative regime supports that process. And the Bahamas, it's such a jurisdiction. We have the Arbitration Act 2009, as well as the Arbitration Foreign Arbitral Awards Act 2009, and that incorporates the 1958 Convention on the Recognition and Enforcement of Arbitral Awards, also known as the New York Convention. And so arbitral awards made in states which are party to the New York Convention are, by virtue of these two Bahamian legislation, enforceable by the parties. Another point is that arbitrations made in international arbitrations, they are concerned with, among other things, immunity from civil actions taken in their capacity as arbitrators. And the Bahamas' legislative framework provides arbitrators with immunity from civil suit, save for bad faith actions. Once passed, the International Commercial Arbitration Bill, which is expected to incorporate the provisions of the UNCITRAL model law, will further bolster the Bahamas' standing as a choice jurisdiction for international arbitration. There are other assets to the Bahamas which makes the Bahamas a choice jurisdiction for international arbitration. We have a wealth of experienced judges and lawyers who are all well trained in the common law. The Bahamas has one of the world's largest ship registries, and as a result of that, we have quite a number of trained maritime lawyers, as well as other maritime professionals. There is the proximate location to the United States, which makes the Bahamas, again, a choice jurisdiction. And as a premier tourist jurisdiction, the Bahamas has adequate and ample world-class hotel, as well as conference facilities in order to house arbitrations. Arbitrations typically allow for a less expensive as well as a speedier process, unlike regular commercial litigation, which is in open court. The Arbitration Act provides that the arbitrations are to be in private, and that all of the information relating to the arbitration process, as well as to the award, are to remain confidential. One of the things about international commercial arbitration that makes the process more speedier is a very streamlined discovery process, and that helps to alleviate the time that's typically involved in regular commercial litigation. The other benefit is party autonomy in the process. The parties to the actual arbitration get to have a greater level of control over the process, how the proceedings are conducted. They can select arbitrators who are trained and experienced in the relevant fields, as opposed to with regular commercial litigation being assigned a judge who might not have the experience and training in the relevant field. The other benefit is the finality of decisions in arbitral proceedings. The basis for an appeal of an arbitral award is very limited, as opposed to appeal of a commercial order. And then there's the enforceability. The New York Convention, which I mentioned earlier, makes the international arbitral award very readily enforceable in member states. Yes, now is indeed the time for the Bahamas to invest in making the Bahamas an international arbitration hub. International commerce is ongoing despite COVID 19. Many disputes are arising because of COVID 19. Parties are now considering the effect of force majeure clauses and the effect of different events that have arisen as a result of COVID 19 and how these events affect or alleviate the obligations of the parties under their commercial contracts. And so now is definitely the time. Um, in the Bahamas, tourism being one of our number one industries, with recreational tourism now being at a virtual standstill, international arbitration could very well be the diversification that the Bahamas economy needs right now and has long since needed, and could bring substantial business tourists to the Bahamas. International arbitration could also provide employment for a number of persons, legal professionals, as well as other professionals, as well as for people employed in the tourism industry many of whom are now furloughed. And so, yes, I would say that now is definitely the time for the Bahamas to invest in making itself an international arbitration hub. COVID has definitely had an effect on litigation proceedings in the Bahamas. Initially, the effect was more severe. Um, Proceedings were pretty much at a standstill as our courts were closed, as many of our firms were closed due to various emergency lockdown orders and various curfews. Subsequently, with the relaxation of the emergency lockdown orders, litigation has moved from face to face to substantially, for most matters, remote hearings. So what started out as perhaps, it seemed very different, um, and perhaps a little bit, negative, has moved to something perhaps more positive and more progressive in that routine administrative applications that counsel and parties would have attended face to face, which would have required the time of actually getting to the court, are now being heard remotely. And I expect that going forward in the future, it's very likely that we will maintain the use of remote hearings for certain types of applications.